Talk. I'm Jesse Grabowski. That's Paul Ashman. What's up, guys? Coming to you live from Detroit and
It's a,
Shanghai. We're talking about
almost, but yes.
almost. We're talking about the last couple cards. Three more cards left, man. It's been a long journey.
Big one. So we've gone through now the whole set. We saw all the personalities, all the attachments, all the everything, and we've thought a lot about where we didn't zero in on one format, but I think we're both sort of looking more into the future, into next
Mm-hmm.
Kotai season, into the crystal ball than looking past because we know that a lot of arc is pretty defined, it's pretty calcified, it's pretty hard to get past the goodness that is new calf tactics and family dojos and
Yep.
some of that kind of stuff. We're being a little bit dismissive, but and the senseis, we weren't sure if we should do them right up front or if we should do them at the back end. We decided to do them at the back end because of the love letter sensei specifically. It's hard to have any value applied to it until you've seen the love letter personalities. That applies a little bit also to the Brotherhood and to Shika Sensei. So we did these at the end, even though Sensei may be the most impactful set cards in any given set, right? Kobai Sensei, we had to errata personality just because of the way it works. So
Yep.
the first one is Brotherhood Sensei. Dragon Phoenix Spider, your maximum hand
Unicorn.
size starts are
Unicorn kind of throws me
low.
off on this one.
Well, they have so I mean it seems pretty clear to me like those are the Shugenja factions
I
or the
assumed it
monk
was
like no.
the monk factions, but then yeah, there's Shugenja.
No, Phoenix is so Unicorn and Phoenix are spells. Dragon and Spider are monks. Though
Phoenix have
Mantis have
monks.
a ton. Phoenix have like one monk,
They just
maybe
have
two.
the golden fist guy that runs around doing everything.
Yeah,
But the last, well, the henshin, those are all monks.
that's. I mean, they're not legal anymore.
I'm talking about the
So
fiction, dude.
my main thought on this is that I hate it, and I hate it for the same reason I'm gonna hate the next one, and I hate a lot of this, which is we've now been playing Ivory Edition for about a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Colot Edition dropped like this time last year. So it's been about a full year, and we've played a lot of Ivory Edition and a couple of new cards, a couple old cards. It turns out Sensei that affect your starting gold production never win, and that's not hyperbole. That's not me trying to make a point dramatically because I quite like any number of Sensei, including stuff like Mahatsu Sensei. But it turns out Sensei that increase your starting gold production don't win events. Like it hasn't happened yet, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say we see the results of every event, but we see the results of most events. Right? Hasn't happened yet. Am I
No, you're not missing
incorrect?
anything. The problem,
Can
I
you
mean,
think of any
design.
situation that like lowers your starting gold production has won any? So for a sensei to lower your starting gold production and be good, to be playable, to create a tournament winning deck, it hasn't happened yet. The effect has to be profoundly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
This is not that sensei.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can play dragon, start with the Ring of Air, and then have an extra like sort of kind of Ring of Air. I don't think it's worth the offset. And no more Swana Dojo going forward. And you've got like the weird fortification, which I don't think is any good. This is to me just unplayable, just on the basis of money matters, economy matters, the ability to develop your gold matters. And it's not worth losing all that stuff to gain another straight effect.
Yeah, I want to go with this card backwards because I actually think the trait is more relevant, is more important to the decision to play this sensei than the battle action, than the action.
Okay?
So, bow to straighten a monk or Shugenja. If wasting disease were in the format, this sensei would be really good. If any
That's the
spell
part I get.
that
Yes.
bows, if any spell that bows a guy to do something were in this format, it would be really good. The
Well,
problem
we've got
is
our
that
cool new card draw spell. Cool new
okay, well,
card
I'm
draw
getting there.
spell.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. The problem is that for the most part, spell design has been changed, where spells are low gold cost, and the spell bows to do something, or it blows itself up.
Very few
And
good repeatable spells.
right, and even for the ones that are open or repeatable, it's not repeatable. It's like repeatable in
Right.
the sense of you can use the spell multiple times. It's not repeatable. So straightening the guy doesn't get you any value. For the
Correct.
most part, Shugenja are extremely low force. You're playing with a bunch of ones, threes at tops. So it's not like you're going to have a Death Star for the most part. Now, the exception to that would be in some sort of Spider Monk deck where you can build a Big Idiot using weapons, or in a Unicorn Big Idiot spell deck with Stones of Purity. And then this becomes a Borderline Conqueror. In that case, it's okay, but it doesn't straighten the attachments, and you're also getting -1 gold cost. So why aren't you
Yep.
just playing Guidance in War, which gives you Conqueror?
Conqueror or Tetsuo Sensei if you spider. Yeah, it doesn't. Yep.
Now, because I don't think that action is very impactful, I do think the trait, however, is. And the reason for that is that if you're playing a deck that has a good saturation of heavy hitting actions, going into that last battle, say you're a defensive honor deck playing Zugenja, you go into that last battle with 10 fate cards in your hand, you will win the battle.
Yeah, but let me counteract that very simply. Nobody's playing Farmer's Market. You can play 3 Farmer's Market, increasing your maximum hand size up to 11. Nobody's doing it.
Right.
So now you're going to run inefficient 2-for-2 temples that don't really do much else for you except increase your maximum hand size. Well, I mean, why are we doing that now and costing ourselves -1 starting gold when we could have just been playing Farmers? And yeah, now there's Colonial Conscript, but like at Ivory Base, we all could have been playing Farmers Markets, and I
Yeah.
played them a little bit, but not a lot. And I just feel like if I wasn't in for it then, why am I in for it now?
You're not. I'm just trying to talk about what I like about the Sensei. The problem, the reason why you weren't doing it then, the reason why you're not doing it now is because it's bad for your gold.
Yep.
And what is this Sensei? Bad for your gold.
So here's how you could have gotten me to play it. Just don't put the maximum 10. Like if you let me get to 15 cards in hand or something, like we might be able to get somewhere. But it's
Yep.
just not.
The maximum, so we saw this a little bit on the one weapon that lets you dishonor your guys and you get +1 and it caps you at 3, and we're seeing it here. These arbitrary maximums they're throwing onto cards are extremely frustrating as a player. I don't understand why design is taking this stance of saying, like, well, these cards can do this effect, but they can only do it to a certain extent. Like, if I want to play all the temples and have all the cards, like, let me go. Who cares?
Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Like, I don't even think so. It's a 3 gold box that's centered, that's focused around this. What's the worst that can happen? I get a really strong single Searing Siege defense. Like, who cares?
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting point. Like if they've constructed their deck and taken the time and bought all the holdings and gotten all the little temples and now they have a maximum hand size of 17. Okay, I mean that's really tough, but
You know,
maybe I should have attacked sooner or something.
and like this is coming from the design team that brought us Togashi's guidance experience that just said you have no hand size. So
Yeah.
why do we go from that to this? I don't understand. So this is kind of a cool Sensei. As a guy who was around back in the day, anytime I see a repeatable straighten effect, I think, wow, that's so powerful. But then you remember that was a time when everything was repeatable and a time when actions were really
Yeah.
good. And we just don't live in that time
And the
anymore.
primary cost of a spell didn't involve bowing the spell, but just bowing the guy. And
Yep. If the Sacred Temple was not a fortification, I would maybe brew around this for a couple seconds. I would maybe try to build the Uber Searing Siege deck around this. With Farmers,
something, right?
I just play the Temples and Farmers Markets, try to get to 13 hand size, do a huge Searing Siege thing. As it stands, I'm not, probably not going to go anywhere near this.
Okay. So will you go near Seppen Tasuke, the love letter deck? So this is a neat Sensei. We've seen a couple of these now. I don't care for them from a design standpoint because I feel like there's enough ways to win and lose L5R without introducing brand new ways for people to win and lose at L5R. You're playing against a newer player and they sort of know how the game works, and then you just win out of nowhere because of conspiracy tokens or affection tokens. That's always a little tilting, I think. Again, -1 gold production, but it's all clans, so maybe you'll put it on Unicorn and you'll still have 4.
Yeah.
The real problem here is affection tokens are tough to get. Like, I mean, you're playing some craps to get affection tokens. You have to You have to have ways to make them discard and have a pretty good knowledge of their focus values. And even then, you got to name it right. And that is not easy to do. I mean, even I know any number of decks when you play against me. I know the deck you're playing. I'll see the fate cards. I'll know aggregate focus values, and I still figure I'm probably what 50%, 60%, hell, let's say 75% to name correctly. It is a tough thing to name it and then get them to discard and be correct.
Yeah, so
Especially when so much of the best ways to make them discard are something like unwelcome supervision, which is random. So there's really just there's no reading them. It's just
yeah,
hope
well,
for the
the
best.
randomness. So the fact, so all the love letters, so all the love letter guys have a sub theme of discarding cards, and the fact that they're all random means that the opponent can't get you. It's a good thing that it's random. It's you're just playing
Right.
an odds game. Um, Now there are cards in the environment that can change focus values, but you have to announce the interrupt to change the focus value before you get to see what they discard, so it doesn't help you.
Yeah, that doesn't do much for you. So
Um, I think the biggest problem with this card is going to be volume. I have a deck in my head for this. It's a Sorrowful Prayers deck that sort of defends and sits around and then builds to a point where I can repeatedly play Unwelcome Supervision. So in one turn, I can play 9 Unwelcome Supervision, something like that.
yep.
Um, the,
Yeah, we're gonna look into it. So
the
maybe winning through Iwoko Miyaka is a red herring. Maybe this is just best as a like I play a unicorn military deck, but gain access to a couple of these other cheap love letter guys.
well, maybe. I mean, the Iwoko Miyaka win condition is worth exploring simply because um,
Winning the game immediately, thumbs up.
matters, right? Now, and you can ignore her honor requirement if you play this
Sure.
guy. She's a love letter guy. She doesn't gain
And
your clan alignment,
and the other part of it is just buy these six guys. I mean that's simplicity itself.
right? That's laughably easy, especially since they align to your faction. So I can
Yep.
play Visions of
They're
Darkness to
all
get
four or
them.
five gold. Yep.
Yep.
So
So
I mean you could just
none of
buy
that's a
your gold,
problem.
buy your guys. That's all easy.
The only difficult part of this deck is getting these
Affection
affection
token.
tokens. And there's two problems with that. Problem number one is actually getting them to discard the cards. Problem number two is them having a sufficient volume of cards for you to discard enough cards to gain. You need 5 tokens, right?
Yeah, six. You need
You need six
six.
tokens, so that's even harder. Um, so like
Yep.
even so like let's say in my perfect deck, I have this combo engine. I get to the end. I sorrowful prayers. I unwelcome supervision you 9 times. You're probably only gonna have 5 cards in your hand. And so if I
Yep.
dump your entire hand, and if every single card is the same focus value, and I name that focus value, I won't get enough tokens to win the game. And there's no little ways, no little, you know, tricksy ways earlier in the game to gain some tokens here and there. You gotta do it through this routine.
Uh, yep. There's actually no other way to do it. We thought for a second maybe the abbot would let you buy one. There's no trick for affection. It's literally just through the sensei, through the abilities. And yeah, it's a really amusing to that you if your opponent is playing something like the Philippine Screen deck and goes, okay, I attach every single card in my hand.
Like you just can't win.
Well, like that's it. That's okay, done.
Yep.
So, uh. But
So it
you're
is what it
playing
is.
this weird, goofy sensei, and you're not. I mean, we're trying to make a tier 2 deck, right? Like we don't really believe you're ever going to hit a tier 1 with it. It's just a question of can we get to a tier 2 kind of zone where you pick up a couple of
Yeah,
wins and have fun with your
sort
friends. I
of.
just feels very kitchen table to me. Though to get to it to be a good kitchen table deck, you're going to have to do some really Johnny Spike stuff. So,
The
which
thing
means
though
I'll
is,
probably spend hours working on the deck.
yeah, the thing is about that is that when an alternate win condition is previewed, it's important to look into it because alternate win conditions are either one of two things: unplayably
Okay,
bad
there's a thing
or
about
degenerate.
that.
Right? It's either Master of Five or it's Death of Onontagu. And if it's going to be Master of Five, you got to make sure that you know that's what it is so you can play the deck. Kobai Sensei was exactly that way. If you once you found the Degenerate Geisha deck and you played it, it was the best deck in the format and had to be immediately errated. So when Tasuke here was previewed, my first instinct was okay. So there's all these other cards I got to look at, but the first thing I got to do is there a degenerate combo deck that centers around winning by doing this because getting all
Well,
these guys in
like
play is
Master of
easy.
Five was never actually errated. It hung around for a long time, and it was tricky to trigger at first. It was a different game back then. But you're right. You're right. You're right. It's an interesting thing, and as much as I don't like it, goofy win conditions are part of L5R, and they're not going to go away. So I guess we'll just explore it and see what happens.
So this was probably a miss, but maybe maybe there's something I'm not seeing.
Well, it's a question of what do you want it to be. Do we want every here's a new way to win and lose the game to be really good,
No, I want
or
them to
I
be
mean,
terrible. I want everything to be Yoritomo Ascends to the Heavens. I don't want these cards to be good. I want this to be a tier 2 deck. All I'm
so
saying is
there,
that you have a responsibility as a
as
competitive
a
L5R
player,
player
yep,
to know whether or not this is a degenerate deck.
yep, to just sort of like try to push it. You always want to try to push win and loss conditions as far as you can. Okay, and we close with the sort of dullest of the sensei, but also the most straightforward and probably the one that like people might actually play. This is
Yep.
after you recruit a ninja or a scout, we fill it face up, and it's 5 factions. There's not a lot of 5 faction sensei. Crab, crane, lion, mantis, scorpion. Anyone who might have scouts or ninja feels really good. -1 province rank, -1 starting honor. So some factions care about that. Crane and lion. Other factions could care less. Crab, mantis, scorpion. I think I would probably play this if I had enough cheap guys. I think I don't
Amusingly,
know. So you're competing with other sensei, right? It's not can you leverage the sensei to a positive effect? Of course you can, but is it better than a Gadayu sensei or something for Mantis? Is it better than a Kage for Crane? That kind of
right.
thing. Um, I actually kind of like it for Lion. Our good friend Ryan Romans is a big Lion guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
hates it for Lion because he doesn't feel like he can ever lower his starting honor ever. I'm not sure I'm there. I think there might be a build of this with Lion where the extra province refill face up is worth the potential to maybe go second. You know, only like once every whatever percent you go second when you start at 6. I don't know. I haven't thought that much about it, but
Right. I was
the only deck that has enough cheap scout guys and develops the gold in that way is probably Lion for me. So yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna comment the two factions for which this is the best is Crane and Lion. Crane can field a deck of all 4 gold cost scouts. It would be slightly different from the Bagel deck in that it wouldn't run the more expensive guys. Maybe it still
yeah.
would. But this effect is extremely powerful. It's a really
There's some
simple
cheap
effect.
ninjas. I think Scorpion might be looking at it. I don't know the province strength hit with their box. I think I can say it. So this is one that involves really taking a full, complete, holistic look at the card pool and seeing do you just have enough stuff to make it work and does it do enough for you. But I mean that's Famous Bazaar is a good card.
Yeah,
Attacking Famous Bazaar onto any personality on a given turn, also good.
it is an extremely powerful sensei. It's a really simple effect. It's the kind of effect you see and sort of say like, well, okay, it's not
Yep.
anything mind blowing, but remember all those games that you lost because your opponent bought Oracle the Void on turn 2. Well, why don't you
Yep.
start the game with something like that?
All those games where you're like maybe just one guy off, you could have used just one more flip.
There you go.
Those
You
edges those
mitigate the
edges
first
add up. Those
loss.
little
Yeah,
bits. So
you mitigate the first province destruction. Now the question is, how many scouts or ninjas do you need to make this sensei worthwhile? Um, the first
15 at
instinct,
least.
yeah, your first instinct is to do, oh, well, I'll just fill my whole deck up with these guys. But you only need one per flip. You only do it once. So if you see one per flip, you use it. That's the maximum value. So there is a sort of line you want to walk, um, and where that line falls is going to determine how playable it is for some of the fringe clans like Scorpion, Mantis, and Crab that don't necessarily want to fill their deck all up with cheap idiots.
Yep. I think I'm pretty comfortable saying that Lion have no shortage of cheap idiots. So
Lion and Crane are both, they can field the full 25 idiots that they play, or the full 23
yeah,
idiots that they
yep.
play is all 4 gold or lower. Mantis, I don't know the card pool as well. I assume there's like some pew pew guys they can play.
Yep, there are. There's a bunch of four gold. Like, so I think everybody can do it if they want. I don't. The ninja is the one because there's a line in the sand. There's two for four ninjas. The one that gives out poison tokens and the resilient one. And we didn't get a ninja this set, despite getting his sensei to trigger off ninja. So it's kind of. I guess there's the crab ninja, which is like 5 gold, but
Loophole
I
man.
guess
Powers activate.
it's reduced to 4, so that gives me 9. I'm gonna build this deck, and I'll probably be playing the Nube Shiho in it because I really like Shiho. Uh,
Yeah, I
and
think
I like Ninja. I like getting a lot of Ninja out there. I like putting guys out on the board. It makes me feel like I'm doing something.
I think the best hope for this deck is out of Lion.
Yep, I agree.
Um, and the B side, the Lion B side is a 9 province strength, or I guess 8 with this, and there's nothing wrong about that. 8 province strength with a blitzy military faction playing out of 5 provinces. Like there have been worse
Yep,
factions in L5R history.
I
So
completely agree
we're
100%.
we're honing in on spirit territory.
Okay, and so that's the Sensei. Not a lot to say. We don't like, 3 gold strongholds, if we can avoid them.
Yep.
And we're not wild on these sort of new ways to win and lose games of L5R. But that's what the Sensei got us. All uncommons, not premiums. I don't know. I thought we were gonna mostly do just premium Sensei, but say la vie.
Yeah, I guess like clan specific one clan senseis are premium, multiple clan senseis are not has been the pattern so
And
far.
that seems fine. 20 festivals will be here shortly. So I think this is that it. Like we're completely done with all the cards from the
That has
set.
been every card, I guess. In lieu of a sort of wrap up, we'll write some articles with sort of our overall impressions and highlighting a couple cards that we like. So we want to hear your thoughts,
Well,
guys.
can't we just assume that we don't need a wrap? I mean, people can just watch, however many hours of actual video we've produced and get all of our thoughts that way.
You'll do anything to avoid writing for this website.
You know what? You stop that. You stop that right now. I'm gonna spam you today with like 8 articles, and you're
You've been
not gonna
telling
know
me
what to
that
do.
for a week. All right,
It's all done.
this has been a lot of talk. I
It's
always say it's been enough talk, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I've been talking L5R like 3 hours a day for like 3 days. I can keep doing it. It's never enough talk.
It's a treat. This is what's great about new sets. I mean, this was a real blast. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as we did. Just like plugging our way through, forcing ourselves to think critically about every card individually, objectively, and then considering it where it sits in the grand scheme. I imagine a lot of people just don't do that, but they
Yeah.
probably should because
Yeah.
it's where you got to start.
I hope we made you do the same thing. Maybe spot some cards that you weren't even looking at that you glossed over because they weren't a part of your clan or the cards that you were really looking for. Or picking out some cards that might get you that now you're a bit more aware of. I mean, I'll be honest, in past sets where I haven't done this, there's been cards where like 3 sets later someone pulls out like, what's that? Where did that come from? I've never seen this card before. Is it really legal? So that
Yep.
won't happen to you. Watch our videos. We're looking out for you guys. And this should be a dialogue too. Leave some comments. Tell us what you think. How is this set? Do you like it better than A Line in the Sand? That was a really tepidly received set. I liked it a lot, but a lot of people didn't. But this one seems really cool. I'm excited to crack some cases of New Order.
Go.
Peace out, everybody. This has been enough talk. I'm Jesse
Hang
Grabowski.
loose.
That's Paul Ashman. Keep playing L5R.